Welcome to Stitch to New. I'm Lynn, and you'll probably hear her, Lady Girl's attacking her bed right now. But welcome back to our sewing studio, and I'm going to continue with our What's in the Box series. So this week I have pulled out, now this week I went out of order, I guess you would call it, because you guys voted. But I saw something in one of these boxes that I was like, I think I can make a quick project out of that, give you guys a good video, and still empty a box that I need to put another project into. Because I have found all kinds of projects, UFOs, unfinished projects, or unfinished objects, in my sewing room as I have been straightening and cleaning and reorganizing. Doesn't it look beautiful? I love having all my fabrics here on display so that when something like this comes up, I can quickly and easily pull what I need. So, and you guys will see that in just a little bit. So let me get on to which box I chose and why. Here is the box I chose. I picked box number 2 because, let me pop it open here, it had so little stuff in it. I had a jelly roll that I used for another project, and the jelly roll was Easter based, but the fabrics that were in it didn't have anything to do with Easter other than these strips that had Easter bunnies on them. And then this fat quarter roll, actually from Dollar Tree, was screaming at me, please buy me, please buy me. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll show you in a minute, 6 of these jelly rolls with these Easter bunnies on them. And I have a cool project. So the first thing I did is I knew I wanted to do a 9 patch with these. I'm going to do a very simple, beginner friendly, seams are going to line up, 9 patch. And I wanted to pick some backgrounds. What did I have that would go with all 4 of these fabrics? So let me flip. So since I have all of my fabrics here where I can quickly pull things that I think would go, I pulled, 4 fabrics that I thought would work good as backgrounds. But I didn't like any of them. This is the one left over from What's in the Box number 1. It's okay, but it's very busy. And since I've got some blues, I thought, oh, this one. Again, it's awful busy. I picked the solid blue. It's okay, but the color is not quite better with that one. But my fabrics, this one and this one, lean more toward teal, and this is more of a baby blue. So I thought, it's Easter, let's pull a bright yellow. Didn't match so much. So I went to my neutrals. You see, I have a neutrals problem because I never seem to have the right neutral to match whatever my project is. So I pulled some of those neutrals. That one I'm liking pretty good. The cream, I love these colors, but the background in most of my prints is white, so this cream color didn't go too good. This one I liked. If you look, it's got different colors. That one goes pretty good. And then I pulled out a blue and white. That one is okay. But when I stand back, the one that jumps out the most at me is this one. I think this one goes best with all 4 of these fabrics. So let me get this cleaned up because you'll see I've got a lot of fabrics. I'll put these back into my stash and leave that one out, and I'll show you what I'm going to do next. And just so you know, that sound you hear in the background, Lady Girl is over here attacking her bed for some reason. I don't know why. This is something she loves to do. She will drag it all over the sewing room. She digs, which I've learned is a dash hound trait, and she just pulls and pulls and pulls. So if you hear noises in the background, this is what's going on. So see there, she's going to pull it on top of herself, and she might drag it all over the room. So if you hear noises in the background, that's what's going on. She has decided her job today is to attack this bed. Alright, so I've moved back over to my cutting table. And I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 strips of each one of these prints with the bunnies on them. And I have 6 fat quarters of this bunny rabbit fabric. So since I'm going to do a very easy to line up 9 patch, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fat quarters and I'm going to cut them into 2.5-inch strips, because jelly rolls are 2.5 inches wide by the width of the fabric. So I'm going to need some 2.5-inch strips from this, and then I need some 2.5-inch strips for the background fabric that I'm going to use. So let me get started cutting those, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to lay these out to make super easy to line up 9-patch blocks. Alright, I've got all my strips cut, so now I'm ready for the next step in this process. So we're going to make strip sets. Don't worry. So I'm going to make it super easy. Alright, so a strip set is when you take strips of fabric and sew them together. So for a 9-patch, we need 2 different strip sets. I'm going to take 2 of the same fabric. For me, I'm going to use this dark bunny one. And 1 light. And I'm going to sew it together like this. So I'm going to have a dark, a light, and a dark. And that's going to be 1 strip set. Out of the same bunny fabric, I then need to make a strip set that is a light. Let me slide these over so you guys can see better. I've got a light, a dark, and another light. So for this block, I will have 2 strip sets. A dark set and a light set. So again, 2 darks with a light in the middle, 2 lights with a dark in the middle. Same fabric in both strip sets, just arranged a little bit differently. So I have 3 strips, same width of the 2 fabrics. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 strip sets. So I'm going to do this for each of my colorways. So I'll have a dark blue, the bunny with the glasses, a pink set, and then the turquoise bunnies. So I'm going to do 2 strip sets for each one of these, and then I'll meet you back here. Oh, and just in case I hadn't seen. So to do the strip set, I'm going to flip them right sides together, and so, sorry, I've got them doubled up here, and so a 1/4-inch seam on each side. Okay, always 1/4-inch seam. So on one side, put it out, flip this one up, 1/4-inch seam on this side. Okay, so I've got my strip sets sewn. So here's a dark, light, dark. And then here's just the opposite, where I've got light, dark, light. So now I'm going to press these. This one. So I'm going to take the two darks with the light first, flip it over, and I like spray starch. I'm going to give it a good starch, and I'm going to press the dark seams to the middle. And then I'm going to make sure that everything's correct on the front too. So again, give it a starch. Okay, there's one side. I'm going to move that over and go to the opposite colorway. So now I've got the light, dark, light. And again, there's this up. So I press the darks into the light. So for this one, again, I'm going to press the darks into the light, and they will be in opposite directions for our next step. Okay, now I'm going to take these over to the cutting table and show you our next step. Okay, so here's my two strips, the dark, light, dark, and the light, dark, light. And I am actually going to stack these. You don't have to do this. I just do it because it makes the process go a little bit faster. But I'm going to stack the two and make sure the edges line up. So now, when I cut, I can cut two at a time. For this project, we use 2.5-inch strips. You could use this method works with any length you have. You could do 5-inch strips. You could do 6-inch strips. Whatever you want to do. I did jelly rolls, so I did 2.5-inch strips. But whatever the size of your strips, this is the size for this next cut you're going to make. So since our jelly rolls were 2.5 inches wide, I'm going to make 2.5-inch cuts. And again, because I'm doing it, I want to get it done fast. I'm going to cut 5 inches. So here on the side, I've got those salvage edges. So I'm going to come in just a little bit. So the first cut, I'm going to go over just a little bit. And I'm actually going to line my ruler up. Bring it in a little bit closer so you can see. I'm going to pick one of the lines on my strip sets and line that up. So I know that this is straight with the strip set. And I'm going to go a little bit more than 5 inches from the edge so that I can cut that salvage off and still have 5 inches there. There's my first cut. And I'm going to take this one and turn it around and cut it even, lining up two edges. I'm actually going to do that one and this one on my strip set, 5 inches. Get rid of that, and then come over to 2.5. And there's my first two cuts. And I'm going to continue with this all the way down. Got all my pieces cut for this colorway. Now for me, I've got 4 colorways. You could have as many as you want. So to make our 9 patch, remember I cut 2 at a time, and then I need one more. There's my 9 patch block. So I've taken the 2 dark on the outside with the light in the middle, and then the 2 light with the dark in the center. And the magic of the way we ironed this is we always ironed the seam to that dark, or to the light. I'm sorry, we just iron the dark one toward the light. So this one goes into the middle, and since we did the dark to the light, these go outside. So when we put these together, I'm going to take this one, fold it to this side. Now those seams will perfectly nest on either side, so that when we do our 1/4 inch seam, those points will line up perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take these and I'm going to stack. Oh, let me tell you one more thing, because I almost made a boo-boo myself. I have directional fabric. What in the world is directional fabric? Well, you see, I've got these little Easter bunnies, and they definitely have an up and a down. I want to make sure that these Easter bunnies aren't going up, and these Easter bunnies are flipped and going around. So when I did my strip sets, let me pull a different color. Okay, here are the pink ones. When I sewed the strips together, I want to make sure that all my bunnies, see, these are going up and these are going up. I don't want one set going up and one set going down, because that would look funny with my bunnies going in different directions. So anytime you have a directional print, that means there's a definite direction to the design on your fabric. You want to make sure you keep those all going in the same direction. Same thing when I'm putting my blocks together. I don't want these bunnies go in one direction and then turn this one upside down. So I want to make sure I pay attention to that. So this one, and I will just stack these on here and make my sets, and then I will take these to the sewing machine to sew together. Alright, so I've got all 4 of my color sets cut into their 9 patches. And let me give you a little trick. I've counted that each one, for my strip sets, I was able to get 8 sets out of each one. So I have gone through and counted each one of these. Each set has 8 in it. And I've also gone through and checked that all my little bunny rabbits, each one, I flipped them up and made sure they're all going in the right direction, so that as I'm chain piecing these, I don't wind up with a big boo-boo and one of my bunnies is upside down and I gotta go back and take the whole thing apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one colorway at a time. So I've got the dark blue one I'm going to start with. I'm going to set this side to the left, or over to my side, and I'm going to take this side, flip it, pick it up so I can show you. I'm going to nest those seams together, put a pin on that side, nest that one together, put a pin on that side, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And I'm going to do all 8 of these. Okay, I've finished running that first set all the way through. So when I open this, you'll see where I nested those seams. I've got that perfect point. Everything is perfectly square there. Let's look at the next one. See, all those points perfectly line up. Oh, see, that one's off slightly. So I can choose to take that one out and go back, or I'll leave it. Let's try another one. Perfect points. So that's my first set, but I've got another set. So I need to, again, line. So I will flip this over. I'm still leaving them chain pieced together, to this one. That one doesn't want to come up. And again, I'm going to nest those seams. See how those are nested together? Line those edges up. First one I'm going to pin. As you've seen me chain piecing, I have not been pinning. The way to make them perfect is to pin. I've been winging it. That's probably why that second one wasn't absolutely perfect. But you line those up. Pin. And then you'll keep going. So I'm going to continue through until I get all of these attached to my first set. Okay, I thought about another trick that you guys would like to see. And the last one, let me sew one of these together. So for this set, instead of sewing these two together, I'm going to sew these two together. Now, once I've got this one through, let's see how those points are. There we go, perfect points. Instead of having to flip this over and put this piece on the bottom, I can now take this one, flip it on the top, and it'll make it a little bit easier going through instead of trying to finagle with it on the bottom. So, got those points lined up. All right, let's do the other seams. Nest them in there. Oop, they flip. And just make it a little bit easier. Let's see. Okay, I've got all of my blocks assembled, cut apart. I've still got them in their 4 family groups. Now I'm going to press. So if you look at the back, this side that's already been pressed are pressed in. Here in the middle, it wants to go out. So I'm going to press all my seams that are not already pressed going out from the center. So, over the starch. And then flip to the front and make sure that everything is lined up. And hopefully all 4 of those points are going to be perfectly lined up. All of my bunnies are facing up because they're directional. But you'll see my blocks are not quite square. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press all of these. Okay, so the next step with these blocks, now that I've got the blocks made, I need to trim them. So you'll see they're not all 100% even. Each one's a little bit different, especially with these pink edges from the jelly roll. So I measured multiples, and 6 inches seems to be the average size that I could trim them all to. So what I'm trying to do, I'm doing 6 inches, and I'm trying to, this center square, I'm trying to line it up with that center block. See if you can see that a little better there. So I'm trying to get it centered in there, and then make sure I have some extra all the way around. Hand down, I'll trim 2 sides. Flip it over. Now I know this edge and this edge are even because I just trimmed those. But I'm also going to try to make sure that center block is lined up. There we go. Nice 6-inch block. So now I am going to do this, repeat this for all my blocks, and I'll meet you back here. All right, let me show you why trimming these up is so important. So first off, if you look, there's always a few things. See, this one looks good, this side, but there's a little that way. They're usually always just a few little things that are not quite even when you're making pieced work. But if you follow some tricks and tips to help you keep everything square, we don't have to worry about that. So I went through and measured several of my blocks, and I came up with 6 inches was the right size for all of them. Is that the exact right thing to do? Well, in a perfect world, these would be a perfect 6.5 inches. But they're not. So, to compensate for that, I trim. In the long run, does it matter? No. As long as I'm happy and the recipient of this item is happy with how it looks, it's fine. Now, was it really necessary to trim these little slivers off? Yes, it really was, because now I am 100% sure that this is a perfectly square 6-inch block. So let me move on and show you my next step that we're going to do with these blocks. Okay, so the next step I did is I took my background fabric, here it's this polka dot fabric, and I cut them into 1.5-inch strips. I also picked a coordinating fabric for all of my blocks, and I cut that into 1.5-inch strips. So what I'm going to do, let me lay some out here, one of each of these blocks, and one more. And instead of butting these blocks right up against each other, like this, I'm going to put sashing in between them. Sashing is, let me move that over a little bit so you can see it better. So sashing is when you put a strip of fabric between 2 or more blocks. So I'm going to slide these apart, and I'm going to add a piece of sashing here and a piece of sashing here. So my blocks will be separated a little bit like this. It gives them a little bit of breathing room, plus now I don't have any seams to match up to make it a little bit easier. And this is called a cornerstone. So I'm going to take this, and that's going to go in the middle of each one of these blocks, or each one of these 4 sets of blocks. So I'm going to cut my background fabric into 6-inch strips, because that's the width of my fabric. Then I'm going to show you how we'll attach these cornerstones. So let me get my 6-inch strips of background fabric and some more of these 1.5-inch squares cut out, and I'll show you how we'll assemble everything. For each block for sashing, I'm going to add 1 block to the right side. Then I'm going to, for my second set of 6-inch, 6-inch by 1.5, I'm going to attach a 1.5-inch block so it makes the bottom. So I'm going to go sew. I have 30 blocks. So for each block, I'm going to sew 1.5-inch strip to the right side of the block, and then for 30 more, I'm going to take the 6-inch by 1.5 and sew a 1.5-inch block to that, which I'll then sew onto here. But first, let me sew these together and these together, and then I'll get back with you. Alright, got all the blocks pressed, so now comes the fun part. I will lay the blocks out, randomly pick some of the different ones. do that because this one is teal also. And I'll take these over to my design wall, put them on the design wall how I would like to sew them, and then I'll get to sew the blocks together and make the top. So, meet you back over at the design wall. Okay, here's the layout that I came up with. I like doing the colors in the lines, so I came up with that. So you'll see with this sashing the way we did, I've got sashing down this side and the bottom, but I'm missing it on the side and the top. Please forgive my neighbor. They decided right as I'm doing videos to do some patio work, and they are cutting blocks out there. So please forgive me. I'm going to try to do this in between them doing the cutting the blocks, but I have no say-so over it. So what I've done is I created some more of those sashings with the cornerstones. I created 11 more, and to each one this way I'll add an extra sashing. And then I'll also do them across the top here for each one of the beads. The only one I'll do anything different from is this top one here. I need a cornerstone both at this end and that end. So I created a strip that has a cornerstone on either end, and that one will go on that side. So I'm going to start with this side. I'm not going to do that one first. I'm going to start with these. And each one of these, I'm going to put the sashing with the cornerstone on the side. I'll come back. I'll do all the ones across the top, and I'll do this one last. Okay, there we go with the first step. I have added that sashing strip on all the outside edges here. Now, I'm going to add them across the tops of all of these. Check with. All right, here we go. I got all the sashings and cornerstones across the top. I'm only missing one more piece. The sashing that has the cornerstones on both ends. And let's see if we can get that done. Ta-da! All the blocks are done. This one's got the sashing all the way around. And all the blocks are finished. And Lady Girl is so excited she wants to check it out too. What do you think, Lady Girl? You like it? Is it cool? So, now to assemble the blocks. So I always start at the bottom, so that when I'm laying them down, the top is at the top. For me, it just, oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit the mic there. That makes it a little bit easier. So let me put Lady Girl in her perch. Here you go, see right there. And show you what I mean. So I'm going to start with row 1 and row 2. Take row 1, lay it on row 2. Set it down. Keeping right sides on the right sides, laying them one on top of the other. Now, when I lift these up, my right is the ones on the right, and the top block is the top block for the quilt. So I'm going to take these to my sewing machine, and I will lay them down so the right side is on my right side facing the needle on my sewing machine. Okay, so I laid it down. My right side is on the right side facing the sewing machine. So I know when I pick these blocks up, this is going to be my top block. I'm going to line up those edges, line up those seam allowances, and do 1/4 of an inch and chain piece these all the way down. Okay, there is column 1 and 2 all sewn together. I'm going to take these to the ironing board and press them what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip every other block the other way. So when I iron, I'm going to give this seam a little bit of starch. I'm going to press this one up. This one will press down. This one will go up. This one down. This one up. And this last one down. Now what I've done, when I've done that, when I flip this seam down, now these seams are going in opposite directions because I press one up, one down. And I can go all the way down through here, sewing these two blocks together, two at a time, and all of my seams will nest because I've done that opposite pressing technique. Let me take you over to the sewing machine and show you how I sew those together. Okay, so I've brought that line, everything's still hooked together. So I'm going to take that first block, fold it down, nest those center seams together. A couple pins here. And then I'm going to come out, nest the sashing on the left together, and nest the sashing on the right together. There we go. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam across. Open that. And if I did it correctly, there we go, all my seams, my point should be together. So now, I'm going to flip this around, lay that one that I just sewed down, take the next seam, lay it across, nest those seams, those center seams we just did. Again, come to the left, nest those sashings together. Come to the right, nest those sashings together. And sew 1/4 inch seam. Is pull it up, and again, open the next one, lay it down. I'm going to do that all the way across until I have done all 6 sections and sewed them together. Now I'm going to take it over to the ironing board, press my seams, hang it back up on my design wall. Okay, there's row 1 and 2 completely sewed together. Now I'm going to skip row 3. But I'm going to do the exact same thing to row 4 and 5. I'm going to flip row 5 to row 4, starting from the bottom, working to the top, sew them all together, then sew the rows together, and flip those seams so that they nest together. So let me sew this one together, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with row 3. All right, there we go. I've got the right side and the left side put together, and when I ironed the seams, I ironed all of them going down. Now I'm going to take the 6 pieces in the center and sew them together, making one strip piece, and when I iron the seams for those, I'm going to iron them going up, so again, my seams will nest. section done. Now, as I said, for both the left and the right piece, when I press the seams, I press them all going down. So the center seam, the center row 3, when I did it, I pressed all the seams going up. That way, when I put the sections together, I can nest the seams. So I'm going to take row 3 and flip it over onto row 2. Let's see. Put a couple of pins there so it stays where it's supposed to. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I definitely will pin all my seams and do a 1/4 inch seam. Alright, so I've got it over here at the sewing machine. I'm going to take my time, and at each one of these intersections, I'm going to put a pin. Alright, pin the whole thing. Now, 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Okay, got it together. Now, I'm going to go take this to the design wall. Alright, bring this back to the design wall. There's where it would be. Haven't pressed this seam yet, but I'm going to do both these center seams at the same time. So I'm going to take this right piece, flip it to the left, and I will put a pin here just so I make sure that I've got the correct edge pinned. And again, I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, pin all those intersections, do a seam, 1/4 inch seam from top to bottom. Alright, all done. Now I'm going to take it to the ironing board, and those 2 seams from the center, looks like they're wanting to go to the center, so that's the way I'm going to press them. Meet you back at my design wall. Alright, all finished, all together. So it took me about 4 hours from start to finish, including doing the video, to get this done. It finishes 34 inches by 39 inches. It's going to make a great baby quilt to go with our sewing ministry we've got at church. So I'm so excited to get this one out of the tub. However, I have 2 leftover blocks because I was able to make 32 blocks and I only needed 30 for this layout. And where I needed 2 of the darker ones for each block and only 1 of the 2 lights and 1 dark, I have got quite a few pieces left over. So I have an idea of what I'm going to do with these. So stay tuned for part 2, and I'll actually wind up with 2 projects out of these 1 section of leftover jelly roll strips. I'm so excited. Just a little bit of added fabric and those jelly roll strips, and I still have, let me grab them. I still have 3 more of these, and I still have some jelly roll strips. But as I said, stay tuned for part 2, because I've got so many left over. I've got another project coming. But I only have 1 jelly roll strip of each color left over. So I used 3 jelly roll strips of each color, plus I added in 1 fat 1/4 of these cut into 2.5 inch strips. So stay tuned. This box is going to be empty before I move on and get the next what's in the box. So 1 box mostly done, 1 project completely done, and I can't wait to add it to our collection at church. So, again, I'm Lynn with Stitched Anew. Lady Girl's down here continuing to tear up her bed. She's been working at that all day while I've been sewing. So please, give us a like and subscribe. It really does help our itty bitty little channel get a little bit closer to 1,000 subscribers, which I really would like to do. So, as always, what did you get to do today? I got to work with some scraps and make a beautiful baby quilt.